Hey, welcome to our Thursday chat. I'm Natascha,
I'm Allegra.
and we are here every Thursday as BYWD Beyond Your Wildest Dreams. Allegra is showing our four books, our bouquet of books, as we like to call them. We've written books, we've written courses and workshops, all with the mission of helping you prioritize yourself, save time, and achieve your goals. That is our mission. That's what we're about. That's what all of our books are about. In some form or another, we attack it from lots of different angles. Whether it's about getting ready for your holidays or life design or tackling your to-do list in a way that really helps your to-do list work for you and not make it more of a burden. And today we're going to be talking about specifically tackling your week and why that's important and how to give yourself a leg up by doing so.
Yeah, we always say that planning makes everything easier, and there's a commonly held belief that for every 1 minute of planning, you save 10 minutes of doing, which is what, like 1,000% return? I don't have my calculator.
It's mind blowing. I'm not good at math, but it's better, right? 10
Yeah, it's
times more time is better. Saving that amount of time is better than losing it or stressing yourself out.
absolutely. And so we usually do some chit chat in the beginning, and then we go into our topic, which is planning your week. And so this week's chit chat, Natascha just got back from a 2-week silent retreat, which I can't even imagine.
I
Tell
thought of you a lot during it, and I have to say that, I was like, "Oh, I feel like you would really jive with it." And I had done this same retreat 22 years ago, but my goodness, what a different person I
22
was
years ago.
22 years ago. Yeah, so I was 27.
The exact same retreat?
Yeah, same one. Yeah,
Wow, that's
yeah,
so cool.
same. Yeah, so um, it was uh, it was enlightening and also challenging and difficult and amazing and so many different things. You can imagine, being silent for 10 days, the things that come up in your brain because your brain does not stop even though your mouth has stopped. In
Mhm.
fact, it gets amplified in there. It gets really, really loud. There was one point when I was alone in my room where I just like screamed into my pillow. I was like, "Shut up!" Like telling my brain to just knock it off. But that apparently doesn't happen, and that's not necessarily the goal. Is to get that silent. The goal is to kind of move those thoughts to the background, hopefully, and be able to focus. But those thoughts are just not going to stop, and that's what I was kind of hoping would happen. But the biggest
Mm.
difference, one of the biggest differences, um, is I'm using my AirPods, so it's echoey, huh?
Yeah,
Um,
a little bit.
Usually that usually helps, but let me see if I'm gonna switch to, pardon me, we're having a little technical issue, which you probably can hear if hearing it's echoey. I'm gonna switch to my built-in microphone and see if that makes a difference.
Okay, and while Natascha is doing that, I'm just going to say that for anyone who's watching this live, if you ever want to go back and listen just to the audio, we do put it up wherever you get your podcasts as the Harness the Power of Planning podcast. This will be episode 73. Can't believe it. That's so amazing.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So is that better? I switched to the internal microphone on the computer. Okay.
It is
All
better.
right. Okay, great.
Okay.
Yeah. So the main difference between, or the most noticeable thing I could tell you right off the bat from 22 years ago as opposed to today, there are a lot of things that are the same. And the things that were different is what I noticed 22 years ago is that because I wasn't speaking, the things that I would have normally just let out and were not being let out. And so therefore they're pinging around in my head and there was far more noticeable. And the thing that I noticed when I was 27 years old is that I was apologizing internally constantly. If I reached for the tongs at the same time as someone else, if we're on the walking path and I got too close to them, internally I'm going, I'm sorry. And dozens of times a day, my impulse was to apologize for really innocuous things that you don't need to be bothering to apologize for, really, but just apologizing for my own existence. And that did not happen this time. Now, that was a huge revelation to me at the time. Like, I don't know if I would have noticed if I was able to speak. I would have just let it out, right? I would have just said the sorry and gone on. But because it was pinging around in there and I didn't have that release, I really noticed it, right? This time around, I was not apologizing for my existence. The difference between a 50-year-old woman who doesn't mind taking up space. It's like, yeah, we both reach for the tea bags at the same time. Whatever. I'll stand here and let you do. Oh, you want me to do? I'll grab it. That, that kind of thing. Where like you not like constantly apologizing for my existence and not feeling like I'm not allowed to take up space. And so that was a huge difference for me. I mean, in fact, 22 years ago when I noticed that, I had resolved to stop saying I'm sorry for innocuous things. Like maybe I apologize, right? Because if your words are powerful, like saying I am sorry, as in my existence is a sorry existence or whatever.
Right.
To apologize for things, for sure. Do I need to apologize? Absolutely, for certain things, right? But to just continuously, I'm sorry, dozens of times a day, my goodness, that was a huge revelation. And that was not the tape that was running in my head or the track that was running in my head this time. And that was a noticeable.
Not your soundtrack.
That was not my soundtrack. Now there was tons of other stuff, but that was noticeably absent. And I am so relieved that is, yeah. So that was
right.
You've
moved on from that. You've learned that lesson.
Yes, I learned that lesson. Yeah. I think just when you get older, you feel that you are, it's okay for you to take up space, essentially, is how that kind of occurred to me. It's like, it's okay that I'm here and existing. I don't have to apologize.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So in addition to being silent, what happens the rest of the time on this retreat?
Oh, you're basically just eating,
because you were there for
and
2
meditating.
weeks.
Yeah,
2 weeks.
10 full days, with a travel day on each side. So basically 12 days, essentially. Yeah. And so you're basically eating, sleeping, and meditating. That's it. Those 3 things. That's all you're doing. You walking. You can do some walking as your form of exercise, but you don't read, you don't listen to anything, you don't write, they ask you to not have any kind of pens or anything, like no writing implements around.
No writing? What? Wow.
No, you're really supposed to be you, and you're really supposed to try to have the experience of being there by yourself, so you don't make eye contact with people. You kind of just keep your eyes downcast. Now, of course, you can go to the teacher and speak to the teacher during certain hours where you can ask questions about the meditation practice and technique. And you can speak to the course manager if you have an issue or something, you need to talk to somebody, so there's, it's not like you have to, but essentially other than that, you basically act like you're there by yourself, so it's really a very solitary experience so that you really get fully and totally, completely in touch with what is going on in your mind and in your body. Yeah. And so that you have no other
sleep,
distractions.
meditate. That's it.
Eat, sleep, meditate. Now, one of the best things about it is this time around, I wasn't put in a bunkhouse with a bunch of other people, other women. I had my own room with my own bathroom, and that felt like luxurious. And by the way, it's very bare bones, right? It's not like not luxurious.
Right.
I mean, it's like exactly what you need. It's just like a 10 by 14 room. It's not anything, and a very nice, clean bathroom, but nothing like special as far as that's
no
concerned.
decor.
Yeah, no. Just very plain. There's nothing like that. There's no decor, no pictures, no like super fluffy bed or, amazing, like linens and stuff.
Just like a wooden bed frame and as many covers as you need and nothing more. No pillowscaping.
No pillowscaping. No. Now I am a 50-year-old woman, about to be anyway. So I do travel with my own pillow. They do provide you that kind of thing, and you bring bedding, if you can. So I brought my own pillow. So I had 2 pillows. So, which is more than what a lot of people have because they just give you 1 pillow. So I did have an extra pillow, but, so that part was like, what was so great about it is I come back to my room and everything is where I left it, and there's no mess to clean up. I made my bed and it's still made. There's no dirty socks on the floor that I didn't put there. Everything is where I put it. I kept my skin routine very, very simple. So all of that was just like on a shelf in front of the mirror, and it was all there, just exactly where I left it. There wasn't toothpaste spit on the mirror, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff. So that was refreshing and relaxing. And the other thing is they make very simple yet healthy and delicious vegetarian meals. So it's very simple. It's nothing like super fancy, saucy, blah, 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 that kind of thing. But the other thing is just not having to decide what to make, not having to make it yourself, and not having to clean up. That was huge. So we got to that 10th day and I was like, I could stay a little longer. And another noticeable thing is when I took it 22 years ago, by like day 3 or 4, I was like, I need to get out of here. I need to talk to somebody. We're walking to the dining room for the lunch hour, and I saw my car in the parking lot, and I burst into tears because I was like, I could just get in my car and I could just drive and I could talk to whoever I wanted to. And this was like day 3, right? Maybe day 4, something like that, and I was just kind of like, I gotta talk to people. I gotta go, that kind of thing. And this time I didn't have any of that. I was just like, this is nice. Being silent is nice. Now, 22 years ago, by the time I got to like day 7 or 8, I was like, okay, silent is cool. By the time we got to the 10th day, I was like, why do we even bother talking as humans? Like, why do we need to talk? Talking seems so, and there is a relief to not have to maintain kind of like a social expectancy, right? Oh, hi, how are you?
Light
Good morning.
conversation.
Hi, all that kind of stuff. And not to say that I dislike being friendly or, that's not it at all. But you don't realize until it's kind of taken away how much energy it does take to just keep those little niceties kind of going, those conversational balls, just like, hi, hello, hi. And not to say that, you want to not acknowledge anyone. No one's acknowledging you either. So it's not like you're giving anyone like a cold shoulder, but it's kind of a relief to like, just not to have to be expected to do that as well. How much energy and mental space that takes up, and that being removed from your experience is quite nice, honestly. Yeah. And so, but this time I did not feel like, oh my gosh, I really need to talk. I did get to the end of those 10 days going like, I could do another 10. I could definitely do another 10. Yeah. So that was, it's funny because 22 years ago, I got to that 10th day and I was like, I'm not ready to leave. I want to stay. And I got to my car and I went to start it and it wouldn't start. So I did wind up staying an extra 4 days while my car was repaired.
Oh my gosh.
Teeny little town in Northern California. And there was, they're like, we have to wait for the part, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. So I wound up just staying in that town for another 4 days. And I wasn't upset about it, quite honestly. My boyfriend back in LA and my parents were like, she joined a cult. Why isn't she back yet? They were very concerned because my parents were definitely like, you're doing what now? 10 days? Silent? We can't talk to you? What is this? Like they were concerned, but yeah, it was a great experience. I highly recommend it. Most people I talk to say, oh, I could never do 10 days. You really could. You'd be surprised. I thought of you a lot, Allegra. I feel like you would, you have a very, you get good clarity in your mind, you have good focus, and I feel like this is something that you would do well at. I mean, it's challenging. Don't get me wrong. It's, it's confronting and challenging, but overall, I'm looking forward to doing it again. And that was my 50th birthday present.
Yay!
Yay! Yeah. So I'm like, maybe every year for my birthday.
When I go on my self-directed retreats, I go to a monastery. And so I think that the accommodations are probably very similar.
Yeah.
Sparse, but clean.
Yes.
And I don't talk to there's no cell phone signal up there. So I can't talk to anyone who's not there. And I don't really engage. However, if someone talks to me, I will talk back.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't want to be rude to the Franciscans.
Right. Of course. Definitely not.
But I do write a lot.
Awesome.
So the not being able to write, I don't think the speaking would be hard, but I think the not writing.
Yeah. You're meditating 11 hours a day. So you don't have a lot of time. Like all of my rest periods, like I was resting especially the first 3 days, like anytime there was like a break, like you have breakfast and then I wouldn't lay down till the next meditation session. And at first I stupidly volunteered to be the gong ringer in the morning to wake everyone up because they needed like a returning student to be a gong ringer. And there was like maybe 4 or 5 returning students. And out of people pleasing, obliger energy, before the course started, the course manager was like, hey, we need a male student and a female student to volunteer to be the gong ringer. And I had told a few people when I got there that, oh, this is not my first time, that kind of thing. I said, we need a returning student to do this. And I'm like, oh God, I told like 7 or 8 people that I'm a returning student. Like, why did I say that? I'm like, they're going to, like this kind of, I'm going to look bad if I don't raise my hand. And I don't know from the other people who are here, if there are any other old students, I don't know. So I waited, nobody raised their hand for a few seconds. And I raised my hand, and then as soon as the guy gave me the instructions, and I was like, oh, why did I say I would do this? Because you have to ring the gong at 4 a.m. and 4:20. So I was getting up at 3:45 every morning. And let me tell you, it was, at first I was regretting it before I did it. It was honestly the best thing because I watched the sunrise every morning. I went out at 4 in the morning, beautiful, this is out in the Mojave, so it's not far from Joshua Tree National Park. So it's, star-filled sky, or when the moon was still up, this beautiful full moon, and just getting to walk through the campus, while no one's up, and it's before everyone. And the gong is like a beautiful sound, and I get to ring it a bunch of times to wake people up, and then ring it again at 4:20 a.m. and then later at 1 o'clock after the lunch break to, bring people back to the meditation hall. And at that hour, at the 4:30 hour, you meditate from 4:30 to 6:30. You have the option of staying in your room to meditate or in the meditation hall. And had I not been getting up to ring the gong, I probably would have opted to meditate in my room, which then usually parlays into going back to sleep. So because
meditate in your room, air quotes.
Yeah, exactly. And in the few times that I did meditate in my room, I really did meditate in my room. But I remember 22 years ago, I'd hear that gong and I was like, all right, I'll meditate. I'd sit up and then I'd be like, right back down again. Eventually within those 2 hours, I'd find myself horizontal again. But so this, forced me to, I was up already. I was dressed. I was up. I was at the meditation hall. I'm just going to go in and meditate. So I spent the 11 hours a day. I pretty much almost every day was in the meditation hall as opposed to my room. Even when you had that option. So that was actually wound up being a real benefit because I was like, I don't know if I drag my butt out of bed at 4:20 in the morning to go to the meditation hall if I wasn't already up ringing the gong. So that was also, but I really got confronted with like, oh wow, my people pleaser obliger, put me in this position.
That's related to Gretchen Stevens for people who are listening, her 4 tendencies. So it's a short little quiz, and Natascha is the obliger personality. That's what she's referring to.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. So at first I was kicking myself, but it really wound up being, a blessing, quite honestly, because I was like, I have to do this for 10 days. I was so mad. Yeah. Until the first day when I did it, and I was like, oh, this is actually kind of nice. And though getting up at 3:45 a.m.
Is the gong sound, is it just, I've been a part of a couple of sound baths, and recently I took part in a sound bath that was so intense. It made me wonder if the other sound baths had been real sound baths, if that makes sense, because this one, it just like overwhelmed my senses. So I was really just surrounded by sound. So is the gong, like when you're that close to it, does that sound and just overwhelm you? So not overwhelm in a bad way, but
it's probably not
wash over you.
Yeah, I've been to sound baths, the same, super relaxing and super immersive. Yeah. Right. So it's not a gong like what we often think about, that huge circular thing. It's called a gong, but it's shaped kind of like a 2-dimensional bell. It has like this kind of, I actually don't know the origins of it, but it is brass, and it has like a little, if you were to take a bell, like a kind of like what you'd think is a conventional bell shape, and flatten it, and a big piece of brass that's in that shape, and then you take your mallet and you bang it on the very, very edge of where the bell shape kind of curves up. I did a lot of experimenting on where to bang it. They had told, and if you bang it in just the right place, if you hit it in just the right place, it has that, overarching with all those overtones and harmonics that go on. You can bang it in other places where it's, the bigger gong, of course, is louder and heavier and a different tone than the smaller. I wound up starting using just the smaller one because I'm telling you, it's heavy. And carrying it around, I had to go around all the residence halls and bang it all over.
Carry it.
Yes, I had to walk from my residence hall around all the other residence halls and basically hit it at all 4 corners of the building so that people could hear it. I have to say, it's a really lovely way to get woken up. 22 years ago, when I was like, oh, it's just like a little bit in the distance, and it has those reverberations. It's lovely. It's actually a really nice way to get woken up in the morning.
Nice.
Yeah. Better than Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, highly recommend.
Oh, yay. Well, we're glad to have you back. For those of you who are joining us, the last 2 weeks I did the podcast and the live stream by myself. And actually 2 weeks ago, I did my skincare ritual. And last week I did emergency planning for your family. And you can go and listen and watch those. We actually have a PDF that we put together. So if you listen to that podcast, you can download that PDF. The link is correct now. Apparently I had the link set to, ask for permission. So it is set now. You should be able to download it. No problem. If you tried and you couldn't, go back and do it now, because I guess I put the wrong link up. So now we're going to transition to our topic, which is saving time and energy by planning your week. Before Natascha left for her retreat, we actually did saving time and energy by planning your month. And when we teach our course, Harness the Power of Planning, we do think about your year first. We kind of go macro and then we go micro. So from year to month to week to day, because you plan in the years and the months, but you live and you act in the day and the weeks.
Yes.
And so, some people might only have currently a monthly calendar, and you might only have a weekly or daily calendar, but we really do believe in the benefits of both. And using your monthly calendar more like where you put your appointments, and then your weekly/daily calendar is where you put, yes, your appointments, but you also put things like exercise, and maybe even what exercise. Like I have Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I do this workout called metabolic renewal. And then on Tuesday and Thursday, I do what's called fascia flossing. And on Thursday, I also hike. So that's not in my monthly calendar, but that is in my daily calendar. So that's kind of an idea of how they're used differently. And so I'm just going to grab our favorite planner, which Restream updated something. So we can now do this cool thing. Let's see. Let's try it. We're doing this for the first time. Oh, there you go.
QR code right on.
Yeah. So we could add that. So that's our favorite planner right there. I'm assuming you can click on it or QR. I don't know what you can do with it. But if you're interested in looking at a planner, now's a great time because the new year is only 3 months away.
I know, right? Yes, I know. I was just talking with a student. I was like, oh my gosh, I'll see you in October. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So 3 months away. So it's a great time to get a planner. And you can start setting it up. And one of the first things I do, you can see, is I add these tabs, because I usually have a planner 6 to 12 months before the new year. So I'm not able to get the ones that are dated. And even if I do get the dated ones, they still don't come with tabs. So I love these tabs. And I actually just received some new ones. Look at these. It's the exact same brand.
Are they sparkly?
They're holographic.
Oh, holograph. Yeah. Okay.
And so these are the same tabs here. I'm going to click on this one now. So these are the tabs, and these tabs are fantastic because they're repositionable. And I've used tabs for years, the same tab, and not so much with my planner, but I sing in a choir. And so we're always getting new music in the choir. And so I'm always reusing the tabs that way. And they really do re-stick and stay there.
That's
so well.
Great. Yeah, that's so great that you don't have to, buy new ones every year, or, you already have the dates, the month name on there, right? Just moving it to the next calendar or the next planner, rather. Yeah.
And you can also cut these. Like if they're too big, if you don't need them this big, you can cut them in half or in thirds if you don't need to write like the name, if you just need it just as a tab. But usually I will write in permanent marker on the space. So this is a gold one. It's really pretty. It's metallic. So
yes, I love them. They're great.
They're fantastic. Avery has tons of them. So you can click on either of those links.
Yeah, you hit me to those because the ones that come with planners often, they rip like almost within weeks. You know what I mean? Use them twice and they just like pull right off, or they just rip, and they're not built to last.
No. And you can also see all of our favorite planning tools at tinyurl.com/shop BYWD. So, you're much more likely to make something a habit when it's fun for you to do. Okay. Because fun releases those chemicals in your brain that makes you want to do something again. Like I had so for those of you who've been listening, that I've been getting really deep into fascia, no pun intended. It's got many layers.
Remind me to tell you something about that.
I can't wait. So I've been getting really into it, and I didn't realize that fascia has many different sizes. So as small as, apparently you have fascia that wraps around every single follicle of hair that you have. Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that. Holy moly.
To the giant pieces of fascia, like the one that runs under your foot, where people often get, plantar fasciitis. That's that huge piece of fascia. So obviously the little follicle ones and the giant tendon-like ones need different levels of manipulation. And I'd only been scratching the surface with fascia. God, it really just lends itself to all these puns.
So can't help it.
So I've been going deeper with it and getting tools that allow you to get into the deeper layers, because apparently fascia can get to the point where it attaches to the bone.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get there with some gentle brushing. You need, in fact, I'm looking at getting a block of wood that is a fascia tool that I'm super stoked about. But to that end, the first time I used this deep tool and I did my whole body, let me tell you, it was the best massage I've ever had in my entire life. I felt so relaxed and I fell asleep instantly, even though it was like the middle of the day, because I was just like,
quite an endorsement.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Here's the thing. I have not been able to get that feeling again. And it's like my brain is like, oh yeah, that was really good. Let me give you all these chemicals because I want you to keep doing it. But for some reason, it's not giving me the exact same chemical release. It's like,
dude, it's am like I going to get that time again?
Yeah, just the first time's free.
First time is free.
The rest are going to be work. But
it's just a pharmacy up here, just doling out them.
Yeah, and it's like sometimes it's really generous, and sometimes it's like, here's a little bit. Maybe you keep doing it, you can get some more. So anyway, so 4 weeks ago, we went over what it looks like to work with your month. And this month's empty because this is next February. But, here's a month's layout. And so today we're going to talk about setting up your week. And Natascha, look, not just Natascha and I, but really all productivity experts say that when you fix an appointment with an activity, you're much more likely to do it. So, for instance, by me writing down exercise into a time on my planner, I'm much more likely to do it than if it's just this general idea of like, I should exercise today, right? So hold on, I will.
Yeah, okay, right. Like, where am I going to fit in the exercise, right? Because you're just like, oh, I've got to exercise. And it just becomes something that's on your planner as opposed to something that you've put in. We like to say not just in space, like on a to-do list, but also in time by putting it in your planner as well and putting a time to it and having that exist outside of your head and exist in time and space.
Exactly. So for me, it's really hard to pick up my 2024 planner because it gets really full by this time of the year.
Yes,
but you can see at 5 a.m. I have metabolic renewal, fascia floss, metabolic renewal, fascia floss, metabolic renewal. So literally, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to look at your monthly calendar and you're going to transfer over any appointments you have into your weekly calendar. And we recommend doing this in pencil because things change. And we recommend picking a time, maybe on Sunday, maybe on Saturday, whatever works for you. My family usually looks at our planners around noonish on Sunday. And we look at our week together so that we can remind each other, hey, today you have to pick up so-and-so, or today we're meeting to go to this back to school event or whatever, just to remind us of where it is, right? So usually around noonish on Sunday is when I am looking at my monthly calendar. And then step one, transferring over all of the appointments that need to go into that weekly calendar. So that's step one. Step two is adding in the things that we're talking about that you think, oh, I'd like to do that. I'll do it when I have time. This is when you make time to do it.
This is it. This is the time you make time.
Exactly. So you put in, let's say, your exercise, or maybe you're working on playing the guitar and you want to fit in practice time. Put in practice time. And look, even if it's only 15 or 20 minutes, that's great. You don't have to reserve an hour to do these things. In fact, a little bit, and having that little bit of a victory by saying, yay, I exercised for 10 minutes today, or I practiced Italian for 5 minutes today, or I practiced the guitar for 5 minutes today. Those are fantastic. In fact, Natascha will talk about the Kaizen way, which is a great thing to work into this idea of planning small things that you want to do.
Right. So it's about creating that wedge in there, even if literally it is a minute long. Finding that something you want to create a new habit. In my case, getting into the habit of stretching has been a journey for me. And when I stretch, I feel great. But that doesn't always that's not always the motivator, right? Even though you're like, wow, when I stretch, it really makes a difference, feels great. But if I don't wedge that in with a certain time, so you can either put that into your calendar, your weekly planner, or I have attached it to something I always do every day, which is make myself a smoothie. But even just that 1 minute wedge, 60 seconds of stretching, now I've put that in there. And in fact, we talked about this at the meditation retreat because they want you to meditate in the morning and in the evening. And the teacher said, she's like, even if you don't get the full hour in, sit down for 15 minutes so that you continue to keep that little pie of wedge in there, that habit. And it will expand into greater lengths of time. So I started stretching 1 minute, and after a while, that 1 minute just felt really, really great. Okay, awesome. I could go longer easily, 2 minutes. Next thing you know, it's 5 minutes. And 5 minutes of stretching makes a huge difference. I am not up to 20 minutes yet. That's okay. I do that occasionally. I'll occasionally watch a 15 or 20 minute stretching video that I'll go along with. That's not an everyday thing, but the wedge, that little wedge of a tiny little habit, you can do anything for 60 seconds, right?
Absolutely.
If you put it in there and have that be something that you would then also put into your weekly planner, it exists not just in your head. Oh yeah, I've got to do that. Oh yeah, I've got to do that. It's like, oh no, I have that set for 8 a.m. Oh wow. And even if you look back and you're like, oh, I missed it, but at least it's there. It's something, it also reminds you, oh wow, I missed it. Maybe I really need to find that 60 seconds somewhere. You can find 60 seconds. You can start with that.
Yeah, I saw a new article too that said even 20 seconds, which, wow, 20 seconds, that's really getting to like the bare bones of the bare bones.
Yeah.
Even 20 seconds of deep diaphragmatic breathing can do wonders for calming the mind. And it has to be diaphragmatic breathing, which if you don't know what that is, Natascha could probably explain way better than me. So I'm going to let you explain.
I could talk about that in great length. But the main thing is you really want to make sure that you keep the front of your body soft when you breathe and allow your abdominal wall to extend when you inhale. You're not filling your belly up with air. People think that that's what happens. Like, oh, breathe into your belly. Well, technically you can't breathe into your belly, but it looks like you are if you allow the front of the body to be soft. And so if you allow the front of the body to be soft and you don't raise your shoulders and you just keep the upper part of the body pretty still and you take a nice deep breath, allowing the abdominal wall to be soft, it extends. What's really happening is that your diaphragm is pushing down on the organs below and the organs are pooching out a little bit. Right? It's not a huge undulation. And what that does is it activates your vagus nerve, and your vagus nerves will then go ahead and help give you those calming hormones, those ones that really help you calm down. This is why when you're agitated, people go, take a deep breath, but don't take a deep breath like this. Don't raise your shoulders. Most people say take a deep breath. They go, it's actually a very restrictive breath that actually restricts your rib cage and your lungs.
And it activates your amygdala, I read.
Oh, for real? Short, yeah. So that's
that
very
fight
shallow.
Or flight.
Yes, I can imagine. Right? So I don't sound relaxed when I inhale like that, right? So you allow the belly to be soft. Really, honestly, when you think about it, when we're both moms, if any of you are new parents out there, when you would go to check on your baby while they're sleeping, if your baby's chest is heaving, you got to bring that baby to the ER, right? When you see a baby naturally sleeping, they're just relaxed on their back. What's moving? Their abdominal wall is moving. Their belly is moving because babies know how to breathe naturally. We start getting older and we start sucking it in and pulling in our core and suck it in and make sure your tummy's flat and all that kind of stuff. And that is really contrary to being able to have a nice, healthy, relaxed breathing. So super duper important. And 20 seconds of it. Yeah. Because we don't think about it a lot. We don't think about our breathing a lot. And
I've been the fascia work I've been doing has been leading to the more diaphragmatic breathing as well. So I've been really thinking about a lot. So so anything you want to do, improve your breathing, exercise, maybe reconnect with friends that are out of state, put those appointments into your weekly planner because they're much more likely to happen. Okay. And then the third step, sorry, it covers up Natascha when I do this.
That's all right.
where Restream, where can you put it that it doesn't close her up? Yeah, there's Natascha looking up over steps to plan your week. Okay, and then step 3 is to it's actually called time block your to-dos. And if you are our #1 selling book, not just #1 selling, but it's been a bestseller, 3, 2, 1 done, 3 simple strategies to get your to-do list done. We go into great detail about how to time block your to-dos. But we all have running lists of things that need to happen, whether it's buying birthday presents or buying school supplies or getting a dance for homecoming. And these are things that you need to find a place to put them so that, like the other ephemeral things like exercise and reconnecting with friends, to make sure that they happen. And so the best way to do that is to, again, put that into your weekly planner so that it happens. So like right now, I have a thing here that I have to file a jury duty pay request thing, because although I did jury duty almost a year ago, I've never been paid for it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, get your money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and
money.
So I have that in a specific moment of free time in my day written in there. Also, things like go buy groceries. I have it put in there right before I pick up my daughter, because otherwise I'm not in my car and I'd rather stay at home and focus on stuff. And so I'm going to get in my car to pick up my kid. So I'm going to go run by the grocery store and pick up some things as well. So put your to-dos into your planner at a specific time.
Right, at a specific time. That, again, is called time blocking. Again, taking it off of the to-do list and putting it into time makes it much more, A, likely you'll do it, and B, generally you can see how it can make your day actually more efficient. And this is where a little bit of planning saves you time, right? Because if Allegra had maybe not pre-planned that and be like, oh, I should stop at the grocery store before pickup, then tomorrow when she's like, oh, we're out of eggs, and now she's running off to the grocery store in the middle of doing something else or whatever. And so this winds up costing you a lot more time, peace of mind, frantic energy, all that kind of stuff. So taking a little bit of time to do that beforehand really does actually save you time.
Yeah, it allows you to be more effective and efficient with your time, but also resources. I'm spending less time in my car. Right. You know, if you have a gas car, less gas, less general wear and tear on your car by just doing a little bit of planning. And yeah, then I have the eggs when I need them. Right. So those are the 3 steps for planning your week. And as we mentioned, if you want to, you can always re-listen to the audio by going to the Harness the Power of Podcast. Harness the Power of Planning podcast. There's a lot of P in there.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely check out our Saving Time and Energy by Planning Your Month, because they work in tandem, the monthly calendar and the weekly calendar. They each have slightly different benefits to using them.
Right. 100%. Yeah. We recommend both.
And if you want to go deeper in time blocking, go to tinyurl.com/BYWD Amazon, and you can get our book, 3, 2, 1 done, 3 simple strategies to get your to-do list done. And you can go deeper with that in terms of time blocking, because, and by the way, all of our books, if you haven't seen them, they're small. They're designed to be done in 45 minutes approximately, and they're all workbooks. So you're not just going to read the theory behind time blocking. We're going to actually walk you through how to time block so that you can actually acquire the knowledge. Natascha and I know that that's how you learn best.
Yeah, but by doing. The magic of doing.
Learning by doing. Yay. Well, thank you for joining us this week, and we will see you next week.